Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome to the live stream. And we're just doing our checks now to make sure that everybody is on live with us. Yes. Yes, okay, good. We're live. Excellent. Welcome everybody to this week's 101 Weekly. And I'm joined by Ebony Kingston. What's going on, Ebony?
Hi, everything's cool. Everything's cool.
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah.
And again, some of the guys are late, but that's just how we do it. And I just want to kick off by saying thanks for everybody who has been joining the stream over the last 4 weeks. This is the 4th episode that we're running now, and things are going quite well. I sorted out all the sound issues, so we're not having any problems there. And we get a lot of interaction from you guys, so I appreciate that. Thank you very much for your interaction. And let's get on with it. Lots to talk about today.
Yes.
So just really want to cover off, first of all, the most important thing, which I know everybody's heads down in the dumps at the moment because we're just not getting 3 points. So let's talk about the Sheffield game. Oh my God. Give me your, I know. Give me your thoughts.
All right. Okay. Well, thanks to Tom, who is also on 101 in the Facebook page. He gave me, well, I bought the ticket off of him.
Nice.
And
nice.
Part of me felt that it was £35 wasted. Seriously, I mean, from minute one, as I said in my little video that I put on the Facebook page, from the first minute or even from the first second, you could see that Sheffield United had their work cut out, and also they were organized to the point where they had 2 or 3 players on Pepe. They had 2 or 3 players on what's he called? Martinelli. You had so every difficult player that we have in our team, 2 or 3 players were swamping those players, and that is obviously an instruction that their manager told them to do or to carry out. For some reason, and I don't know why, but for every player that they swamped, we held back. We just gave them so much room. We gave them too much space. We gave them too much respect, and that's not taking anything away from Sheffield United because they're a very good team. And I did say that they're not mugs because they're not. They're a very good outfit, that they've done their homework. But for some reason, I don't know where the pressing went. I don't know where our swamping of players went. I don't know where our defending from the halfway line went. It just, when we defended, it was as if, okay, Sheffield, go ahead, just take the ball, run it all the way down to our goal line, and then we'll defend. That's exactly what we were doing. And it was just, don't get me wrong, there were some great interceptions by Torreira.
Mustafi as well.
Mustafi was okay. I mean, there was probably in the first 10-15 minutes, I was thinking to myself, will you wake up already? But because that's the kind of defender he is, and maybe that's lack of that is a lack of confidence. I don't know, because he hasn't really been playing that much. And yes, we don't have any central defenders, and he's the only one that we've got that's available. That's
the only one.
This is why we need to. We've got 11 days to do something in this window anyway. But as I was saying, yes, there were some good interceptions by Torreira in midfield. Yes, Xhaka, he did some good passes as well. Lacazette did not have a great game. I think he had 2 clear chances in the first half. But I don't know whether it's because he's not well, or he's carrying an injury, or he's got something on his mind as to why he's not scoring. Who else can I point out? Ozil for me, he had a quiet game. Yes, he made a couple of good passes, but there was no urgency there. David Luiz was our best defender. I thought he was excellent, apart from when he what. I know I said in my video on 101 that maybe it was him that fell asleep at the back, but quite frankly, when you watch it live and the action and their goal was scored at the other end of the north end, because I was in the north end, you can't really get to see. And no, I have not watched Match of the Day, and I don't want to watch Match of the Day either, because that just the whole performance oppresses me. But I do have to look at it again to see who's that for. Whether it was Ainsley Maitland-Niles, I don't know. But I just think that, you know, David Luiz was our best defender. You could see the leadership qualities. You could see him marshalling the back. Saka was excellent, and that's not even his position. He should be up front, but he's having to come in and you know, play in a position that he's not used to. Ainsley Maitland-Niles I thought he was okay. He was one of the players that was completely swamped.
Yeah, so he wasn't fault for the goal though.
Okay.
Because I got that wrong. Yeah,
Fair
I got
enough.
that wrong. Yeah.
But I just think that but some of his passing was just like WTF.
Yeah.
And there were moments where you know, players were playing balls and there was nobody to receive the ball.
Well, I think
to make it happen.
I think from what I saw there, players were there, but the balls were such bad quality.
Short.
They were too short, or they rolled out of bounds many times. It looked really bad there. But I just want to say, Ifran, welcome to the stream.
Hi, Ifran.
Thank you.
How you doing,
Thank
mate?
you very much. Good evening, everyone. Apologies, you know, South Africa with the electricity issues. I just got electricity back, so I was a bit late today.
Yeah, Ebony just talked about the Sheffield game, so I just wanted to put a few pointers across myself. Also, big shout out to Aaron and the question of why are we not creating? Ozil gained work rate and lost creativity. A lot of that was due to at halftime when I did my video yesterday, my live vlog, and I talked about the way that they swamped us with 5 men in the midfield. I thought that was good tactics by Sheffield. And I stated that out numerous amount of times in my vlog that Sheffield are in 6th place. They're a good team. And I kept saying that because I wanted Arsenal fans to kind of humble themselves. We expect to be getting 3 points in these games. And I don't know why, because when you look at our form, you know, only winning two games in the last 14, and then you look where Sheffield United is, they're 6th in the table. They lost 2 out of 3, but look at the teams they lost to. You know, like, you know, Man City or Liverpool. I mean, look at the teams that they lost to. So when you look at things like that, they were the informed team, not us. So what I saw them do to us in the first half was of no surprise. They nullified us. They clogged up the midfield, made it very difficult for us to move the ball around, those quick passes. And the one thing that I have to say is those guys' average height is like 6'1", you know. Some of the midfielders 6'2". They're physically more imposing, and it showed when we were getting brushed off the ball numerous amount of times.
Very easily.
And yeah, it was hard for us. But at the same time, I agree with you, Ebony. The intensity and the fire in your belly just wasn't there. You know,
everything about our midfield was just like, it was sloppy.
Yeah.
Sloppy passing for much of the game. Balls being played, as we were saying, you know, some of the balls were way too short or they were way too long. And even when the balls were at the right length, if you like, there was nobody at the end of those balls. So therefore, the ball just happened to roll out and play anyway.
And the thing is, there's the simple equation. I always like to get real when it comes to these things, because I always think Arsenal fans expect the unexpected. You know, we expect too much. That's most fans. Most fans believe that their team should be winning every week, and we're no different to that. But when I saw the game yesterday, I just thought to myself, you know, Lady Luck is nowhere near on our side. How many points have we've dropped 13 league points from winning positions this season, and 7 since Arteta took over. We can't buy a win at the moment. And I kind of feel sorry for the team. When I left that stadium, my head was down a little bit, but I was like, what do these guys have to do to get a win? It's almost impossible to get 3 points at this stage of the season because nothing's going right. And a big shout out to Joe Brown from Laura Ashley in Elstree. I saw her today and she said to me, Apollo, we need more goals. And she's right. When you look at the fact that our leading goal scorer, Aubameyang, wasn't there, and we've always said we need more production and more help from the rest of the team. We need midfielders running into the box late to get on the end of things, which is Martinelli's run. He cut inside, didn't he? Left it to Saka on the left, and he ran into the box late. The line, if you look at Sheffield's line, it was well played. He just came in late and spring them up. And it was a fantastic run by him. But that's the kind of commitment and help that the players need up front, and they're not getting it. And that leads us into Lacazette. He has been great at holding up the ball, but as I said, you judge strikers by goals scored, and he's not scoring. He looks nowhere near scoring. His last away goal was in February against Huddersfield, I believe.
But last year.
Oh, well, God, it almost feels like it. But Ifran, what do you think? Let me hear your thoughts about the Sheffield game.
Yeah, I think for me, I think the first half I quickly realized that it was going to be a competitive game. I think I was prepared for it, but I didn't realize how confident they were going to come out and kind of go for the game. I think we were lucky to have a 1-0 lead. Obviously, I was encouraged, but we all know we always need a second goal. I mean, Arsenal never does it the easy way. And I think it's not only Arsenal. I think we feel that way because we're Arsenal fans, but I think it's every club in the Premier League, that, like even United, Tottenham Hotspur, because the Premier League is so competitive. So against any team, if you're only winning 1-0 at the death, they're going to come back and clinch something. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, you're right. I think it's 11 points now that we've dropped from VAR. It's just absolutely ridiculous. That was a definite penalty. I know that he was gonna he wasn't gonna get the ball, and 2, he was kind of looking for the penalty. But I mean, as a striker, he touched the ball and defender took him out. I can't believe that wasn't the penalty, and that would have killed the game for us. So I'm encouraged by the performances, but I still think that honestly, Xhaka still has that throw in he did that almost killed us. I mean, he still has a mistake in him. Defensively, Mustafi, still, I think we should get rid of him. I mean, we got rid of Mavropanos, and what happens if David Luiz or Socrates get injured? We basically have no cover, right?
So, exactly. I think the one thing here that we have to talk about. Let me just change the banner here. Yeah, let's change the banner. Pepe's penalty. Let's hear your thoughts about that, Ebony, before I blow this thing off the roof.
Look, I was actually when Pepe was fouled in the box. I'm at the north end. I can see it clearly, and bearing in mind that I'm towards the back of the north end, it was clear that he was fouled in the box. I cannot believe that Mike Dean, who likes to make everything about him, this is why he got booed at the beginning of the game. But as far as I'm concerned, Pepe was fouled. It should have been a penalty. Mike Dean wasn't giving it for whatever reason. Maybe he's got a vendetta against us. I don't know.
I think he has.
And then it went to VAR. Yeah. And then it went to VAR, and then VAR said no foul. I'm like, what? Pepe was brought down in the box. How is that not a penalty? How is that not a penalty? And it's not. And I'm not being biased here, but it was a clear penalty. Now, had that happened at the other end, Sheffield United would have actually gotten a penalty.
Be sure.
Saying it. I'm saying Mike Dean has a vendetta against Arsenal. Why? I don't know. But that was a clear as day penalty, and Mike Dean should be ashamed of himself.
Well, here's the thing, yeah. These type of patterns have got a history of repeating themselves. And it's not just Mike Dean, but it's other refs when they officiate at the Emirates. We have one tackle and we get a yellow card. and the other team has 4, 5, 6 tackles before the ref even takes out a card. And I see that weekly. I'm tired of it, man. I don't even like talking about it anymore because it's so biased. But in this specific game, there's 2 problems I had with the decision. One is in the replay, you can clearly see that the player sticks out his right foot. You can clear it. It's clear as day. On Sky Sports, they said it's a stone cold penalty. Here's the deal. There's 2 things here. One is, I believe it's Martin Atkinson was the VAR referee. He didn't give the penalty. That's my first problem with it. The second is, back in October last year, we lost 1-0 to Sheffield United at their place. But there was a clear pull on Socrates' shirt in the box on the corner. And the referee that day was Mike Dean. And guess what? He didn't give the penalty. It was, and that the joke is that didn't even go to VAR. He just completely was not interested at all. So is there a bias? Hell yeah, there's a bias.
Of course there is.
And it just drives me nuts because how much points have we lost? I'm a big fan of VAR. You know, you guys know I follow American sports in a big way. And I believe there's too much money in the game to not have video evidence. So you just have to have it in the sport regardless. But the problem isn't VAR. It's these idiots that are behind the camera. We need to replace them with people who know what they're doing, man. It's just so bad. Oh my God.
Maybe replace them with like ex-referees or ex-players.
I would go ex-players. I really would. I mean, the ex-referees do a job on Sky. If you know, when you watch Sky, they have some of the old retired referees in, and they know what they're talking about. They always seem to get it right. But some of these guys at the moment have got a clear vendetta against some clubs. And it's pathetic that there's actually a petition.org about Mike Dean not officiating an Arsenal game. That's how bad it is. It's so bad. The African Guna, what's your thoughts on Pepe's? Was it a penalty or not?
Yeah, definitely. As I mentioned just a little while ago, it's definitely a penalty. And someone mentioned in the comments, I think it's Aaron, saying that, you know, he was kind of looking for it. But again, I mean, as a striker, look at Harry Kane, look at Willian, look at, you know, even Son, Dele Alli, all these guys. I mean, it's the striker's role to look for it. He took that chance of getting the penalty. He knew that he had to take on the man, and once he got it past him, if he touched him, he was going down and taking the penalty because he was obviously not going to score from that position. So yeah, definitely penalty. And I think in regards to what we're saying about the referees, I think in the past, you know, big clubs had kind of this, you know, referees would be more advantageous for the smaller teams to kind of even the playing field. And I think over the last 5 years, the Premier League has become so competitive where the smaller teams have been able to afford better players. So therefore, they're able to compete better. Now, I think referees need to be more fair. And that bias against bigger teams, not just Arsenal sometimes, even bigger teams in general, needs to stop. And regarding to what you guys are saying, you know, ex-referees and stuff, ex-players, aren't there like young referees that are trying to become Premier League refs? Why don't we give them a try? I mean, these guys have been here for like 10, 15 years. I've never seen other referees in my lifetime. So like, what's going on?
Yeah, big shout out to Aaron again. He's saying he didn't think that Pepe had enough contact. He did put his leg out, as we all saw, but they barely touched. Again, and the thing is, it really comes down to what we saw on the video, and it really comes down to what they saw on Sky and what they saw on BBC. They all thought there was contact there. So was it minimal contact or was it a lot of contact?
It doesn't matter if there's minimal or not. I mean, if there's contact, it's the rules, right? Why
it's the rules. Yeah, and the thing is, it's the thing about contact is this. I don't really go for the contact. I go for impeding. If a player is impeding another player, whether it's contact, whether it's pulling a shirt, whether it's grabbing an arm, it's a penalty because what you're doing is you're impeding the player, and that is a penalty. So I think that's the way how I think about it. But I've got to put this up for Aaron. I was reading somewhere, isn't he a Tranmere fan or something like that? I can't remember it's a lower league team that he supports, but for me, it just stinks of Premiership snobbery, man. But going on to the topic, 11 draws this season out of 23 games. 11 draws, man.
It's getting worse. You know, you can't really blame Arteta or Tets, as I call him. You know, you can't really blame
Tets.
All right, Arteta for the sake of the show. Arteta.
Yeah, because that sounds like that was nearly R-rated there. Oh man.
But seriously though, you can't really blame Arteta for the draws. He can only do so much as a manager. He can only implement his style of play so much. It is down to the players. I know that they're probably still feeling lethargic because of this new regime. Maybe they are, I don't know. Are they getting tired halfway, but by half time? Again, we don't know, but there's chances that are not being taken. There's, you know, and I'm going by Saturday's game, you know, the amount of balls that were being played and there was nobody at the end of them. It was a joke.
Yeah.
So I don't know, and I'm hoping, and I know we're going to get onto it, but tomorrow when we play Chelsea, you know, that doesn't happen. I'm hoping that, you know, the way that we played against Man U is the style that we go back to, because Chelsea has some very good players and they have some unstoppable players as well. So if we go back to defending the way that we did against Man U, then, you know, hopefully we can grind out a win. But you know, that, I mean, we've played teams where we should have won, where we should have taken chances. I don't know. I just think it's getting worse. And if we continue on this slide, then we're not even going to make Europa next season.
Yeah.
Forget
That's
top
really
four.
tough.
Top four finished anyway. So if we continue playing the way that we did on Saturday, from here on in, we're in trouble. We're not making Europa.
Yeah, I think it's man, you know, the problem is obviously what we just talked about, which is in terms of us not scoring enough goals. Look, we're drawing a lot of these games, guys, because we're just not banging the goals in. We're averaging about a goal a game under Arteta, and in this league, with this defense, and it's an improved defense. Let's not get away from the effort that Arteta has brought to the team. But if you're going to go into a game and average a goal, then the chances are you're probably not going to come out with 3 points. And that's just where we are right now. Asking for 1-0 wins every week is a lot in this league. You mentioned, I think it was actually African Guna that mentioned that the lower teams have got money now. And it's great for the game, guys. Look, parity is something that's existed in American sports. That's why we all watch American sports, because the worst teams get the best players from college, and that's how teams improve. With England in the Premiership, it's worked through money. The Sky deal, everybody gets a flat rate now, so it doesn't work the way it does in Spain, where you've got the likes of Barcelona, Real Madrid, who are getting, I believe the TV contracts is 300 million euros, which is 3 times the amount that teams like Arsenal and Man City and Liverpool are getting, by the way. So when you consider that Real Madrid and Barcelona are getting near to 300 million euros a season from their TV deals, because they're allowed to negotiate personal TV deals. That doesn't happen in this country. In this country, everybody gets a flat rate, and what that does is it grows parity. It means that there is a flat fee across the board, which is fair. And what that does is it gives other teams the capability to go out and sign a player for 30, 40, 50 million. It also means that, unlike the old days, that teams don't have to sell players. So when you look at the likes of Grealish and other quality midfielders from lower teams, they don't have to sell them because they don't need the money. You know, before, all these owners who got into the Premiership, just like, whoever you need to sell to get us some money in, sell them. No, we're not interested. Look.
Yeah, but the thing is that Arsenal have actually become that club whereby if you need the money, you need to sell. But then, like, we've got a billionaire owner. who
Yeah, but
just
that
doesn't invest.
yeah, but that's not because we don't have money. That's just to balance the fair play, because you have to you can only spend what comes in. So
what
for
you
us,
earn,
that's right. So for us, getting rid of Iwobi was a big reason why we could actually extend our spending the way that we did. So it's a bit different for us. We do have the money. We've got, from my calculations, about 252 million surplus cash sitting in the banks. But unless 252 million comes into the club, you can't spend it. It's just the way. It's just the way how the world works. African Guna, what's I believe you had your thoughts on the team's draws. No, you didn't. All right, so go ahead. What do you think of these 11 draws?
Yeah, 11 draws. That's like almost 50% of the season or the Premier League. I mean, that's just crazy. I don't remember the last time. Do you guys remember the last time we drew like this many games? I mean, it's ridiculous. And every draw against Chelsea, that's 12. I think season's pretty much over for me. So I just want good performances. I think that the board definitely needs to back Arteta now. Get a center back, whether it's a loan, Boateng, whatever it is. Please, I don't care at this time and moment. We have like 11 days left, and I think we're gonna limp the race until the end of the season. We're gonna just barely finish outside of Europa, or maybe qualify for Europa. And if we get any of the big dogs today, I actually looked up, the round of 32 for Europa, and the teams that are in there are some serious teams. Even the Benficas and the smaller European teams, they're competitive and aggressive. We can't play against teams like that. We're gonna get killed. So we need to buy players. There's no excuse anymore. And I on Twitter, actually, if we don't buy anyone this window and then in the summer they don't back Arteta, I think the fan base is gonna uproar. It's gonna be crazy. I think
they'll back up. They'll back him, and they'll back him in a way that
because they would have already. I mean, I'm sure. What happens if by podcast number 6 we're talking and we didn't sign anyone? Then what are we gonna say then?
Well, I mean, I've already, if you looked at my video on YouTube, the one last week, I had spoken to a few agents, and a lot of them were saying nothing's going to happen. They can't see any of the players that we're involved with in situations where those teams are going to be selling, because it's just not going to happen. And I knew from last week, so that's why normally I do a transfer video here and there, and I just didn't do one because I felt that, what's the point of talking when these teams aren't going to give these players up? So, and that was my video, really. My video was really centered around what are we going to do defensively, because we're in the shit right now. We're in a situation where we've lost Chambers through injury, and we've got rid of our Mavropanos, who I think is a decent player, but we're not even keeping him around. And now we're down to 3. Essentially, because the news on
Mustafi, that's two and a half.
I know it's bad. It's bad right now. Let's not make no bones about it. And the emergency centre back in Klasnach, he's out as well. So I really don't know where this team goes. It's dire straits right now. They're going to have to put up extra money in order to get one of their targets. But again, even then, the spending only resets at the end of June. That's when the financial fair play resets, and then we could go and spend 160, 200 million or whatever. But it's going to be really tough now, because who do you lose? Who do you lose? Who wants to buy any of these players at Arsenal? They're so bad. You can't give Mustafi away in Piccadilly for a £5. You can't sell him down to Piccadilly, because who wants him? It's really bad. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. But let's lead into Chelsea with this, yeah? Let's lead into Chelsea. Kez is saying we need goals from all around the team, not just from our forwards. And yes, we can establish that in the fan base, that we are struggling at the moment and everyone's got a chip in. It's just not happening from the rest of our team. And I expect a lot. It's hard to put this pressure on an 18-year-old in Martinelli, but he's delivering, and he's only just come back from an injury, guys.
More of the midfielders need to actually get those runs in the box in order to score goals. I don't for too long now.
I don't think they can. I don't think that the likes of Torreira and Xhaka can really give up their gaps to put pressure on scoring goals. Where I do think has been mentioned in the 101 chat, where one of our members, I think it was Greg, Greg was talking about why did Ozil get into a shooting position twice and play the ball off to Martinelli twice, and Martinelli fumbled it all up when he had an opportunity to go for goal? So things like that. Ozil's got to be more progressive in his thinking in terms of getting results for the actual team itself. Zach, welcome to the chat, Zach. Big out to you, man. Zach is saying start Eddie. Now, that's another option that Arteta has tomorrow night, because this guy, Lacazette, has not been delivering for you. He hasn't. He's not been delivering. And we saw what happened within 5 minutes of Eddie coming on. He was making runs behind the defense and pointing to Saka where he wanted him to play the ball. There was one where he had one on the stretch. He got to the ball, played it in the middle, and there was nobody coming in to tap in Eddie Nketiah's. You got to give someone a chance. And I think I would definitely be sold to that. I would sign up to that Eddie should start. We should go with Eddie, Pepe, Martinelli tomorrow. That's what I think. Everyone's going to have their different thoughts about it. But, you know, guys, what do you think about the Chelsea game tomorrow? What are we going to do?
I think defensively, if Mustafi is the only CD that we have, then we're going to have to play him, and he's going to have to undergo some extensive training tomorrow morning, as the game is tomorrow. David Luiz, ex-Chelsea, let's just hope that he's not Agent Luiz. But he played well against them earlier on in the season. With regards to, you know, the forward players, I definitely start Pepe because he will give them problems. Martinelli, I definitely play. You can't not play him. Lacazette, and I said it to myself for quite a while. He needs to be benched, and maybe he needs some extra training. I don't know what it is with Lacazette, but whatever it is, he's not scoring. He's not playing well, in my opinion. Yes, he holds the ball up well, but he's just not firing on any cylinder. So yes, so you know, put Eddie there, make it three up front. You know, the more power you have, the more strikers you have, or the more forward players you have, then potentially the more goals you have, potentially. But I mean, I'm up for that, because when Eddie came on yesterday on Saturday, he did more in 15 minutes than Lacazette did during the time that he was on. And that's not a disrespect to Lacazette. It's just that Lacazette has not been playing well, and maybe Lacazette is the one that needs to be brought on from the bench.
Yeah,
but
as I said before, I think he's played okay. I mean, when I look back at my player ratings, he's had some decent ratings of late. And I say the last 2 or 3 games, because he's been working really hard. But where are the goals?
Yeah.
Where are the goals? Yeah. He had 18 goals and 10 assists last season. I mean, this season, what's going on this season? He's got barely anything. I believe he's got 5 goals. And he was injured for a while, so we have to take that into consideration.
Maybe he's still got that injury. Maybe he's cautious because of the injury, and I get that, because once you have an horrific injury, you're going to be very cautious as to not to rupture it again, rupture the same part of the body again. So I can understand that. But
yeah. I mean, before I hand this over to La African Guna, I just want to say big up to Jause in the chat there. He's been coming in with some proper threads, and he's saying we've only combined for 22 league goals from our front 3. 2 of the forwards lack intelligence, movements, and have a tendency to going to the ball. I don't know whether Arteta is coaching their runs. I think in terms of Pepe, he's definitely coaching what Pepe is doing as far as his runs, just in the way he did with Raheem Sterling, and look how that turned out. But again, Arteta's been here barely a month. So we've got to just give it time. Patience is the hardest thing for the fans to have, man, because we want it all, and we want it now. And we just have to give it time, and things will work their way through. In regards to why I said the holding midfielders aren't going to work, and that's just because the Zaka Torreira formula, we were not going to get any goals from that. The only place we're really going to get goals from is, again, Aaron. A big shout out to you for this. Is Ceballos. Ceballos is the only guy that's really going to help that situation, and this is the reason why I wouldn't be surprised to see Ceballos start against Chelsea. So it could be Martinelli, Pepe, and Ceballos tomorrow. And I say that because I've talked about Arteta's view on Ceballos and how he views him as a front three player, not a number 10 or not a holding midfielder, which is where Emery played him. And that's because Ceballos plays up front for Spain. And he was player of the tournament in the Spain under-21 World Cups. Arteta knows him very well. And believe me, when Ceballos comes back, you're going to see a different type of player because he's not going to play in the same way that Emery played him. African Guna, let me bring you into this. Chelsea, front three, who do we go with? African Guna, are you still there? It looks like it might have gone again. Yeah. So, are you there? Hello? No, he's not. He's not there yet. So again, Jalse is saying, I don't want another another number 10. This is a strange thing in our game now because, you know, remember when we were talking about the sweeper has died out? We no longer have a sweeper. A guy who sits in front of the back four and protects the back four. That's not there. Now it's a holding midfielder who has multiple roles to do and multiple gaps that he has to look out for. The number 10 is a dying breed. We know that, and that's due to the new formations that we're playing. Ozil is a dying breed. Yeah, just in the same way that Giroud was a dying breed. You know, that Emil Heskey, Giroud type of Benteke forward who holds the ball, that's all dead now. The game's just evolved so far ahead of what teams are doing. But I believe, how old is Ozil? Ozil's 31 now. He'll be 32 at the end of this season. And then obviously the contract thing, we have to keep him because of that next year. But yeah, I think our game has evolved to, when you look at players like Martinelli. Martinelli can play as right, left, up front, number 10. He can play anywhere. And when you have that kind of flexibility among your front three, again with Pepe, because remember, Pepe's a false 9. He played in as a striker in a 4-4-2 in France. But when you have that kind of setup, then you have a lot of interlinking and running around and changing and destruction among defenses because they really wouldn't be able to track any of the runners coming through. We don't have that at the moment. We certainly don't have Lacazette making runs. So it's a strange thing. It's a strange thing to say. But African Guna, are you okay? Are you in the stream?
Yeah, I'm
Yes.
in the stream.
Okay.
It might happen again. I'm just trying my best. I'm trying to. But I had a lot to say, so I've like kind of just put it all in my head, and I'm just gonna respond in regards to what you guys are talking about. For Eddie Nketiah, I was smiling because for me, I just don't think he's ready. I love the kid. I think he's got a lot of talent, but just, you know, in dire situations when he's one-on-one with the keeper, I just don't have the confidence that he has the skill to, you know, dribble the keeper and finish. He's not a calm. I mean, I know he scores, but I just don't think he's there yet. And for me, I honestly would start Martinelli up front, and this kid is my favorite player. I mean, maybe even as close to Aubameyang for me. This kid is going to be a superstar. I mean, I told you, Polo, that he was going to score, and I think he's going to score against Chelsea again. This kid just needs one chance, man, and he can make the chance himself. And that's what he reminds me of Sanchez. You know, take the ball, make magic out of nothing, and that's the type of players that you want. And in regards to, you know, people saying Martinelli's not ready, listen, Ronaldo, Messi, Mbappe, all these kids when they're 18-year-olds, this is their time to shine. These are the real gems. This is where you see if you're a world-class player. Put them in the, you know, in the limelight and let them do their thing. And that's the type of player Martinelli is for me. And
so I just want to ask you a question there. So why would you give Eddie Martinelli that chance and not Eddie Nketiah? Because Chelsea fans were saying this about Tammy Abrahams in the summer. They said he's not ready, he's going to fail. And look, 22 games later, 13 goals.
Listen,
you know,
Apollo.
it's fair to say, and I agree with you, he's really raw. He's totally raw. But he was the second leading goal scorer at Leeds. And half of the time he was on the bench. He scored 5 goals there.
Yeah, my response is that
if he's getting the goals.
Yeah, my response to that is basically, listen, we've been watching Nketiah for 2-3 seasons now, okay, in and out of the team. And yes, he delivered it in the FA Cup when he scored those 2 goals. And yes, here and there he's done some things. But I mean, when it's come to real, high-class moments, he just doesn't give me that feeling. When Martinelli has the ball at his feet, I know he's going to do something. And if he misses, I'm not like, oh, Nketiah, oh, Iwobi, how did you miss? Oh, Reece Nelson, how did you miss? I have confidence that the next time Martinelli is going to put it in. Whereas these other players, it's like maybe 1 out of 3 or 1 out of 5, they'll get it. Whereas Martinelli, his success chance is much higher because he's a raw talent. And as you said, he can play anywhere. Number 10, center forward, left wing, right wing, you name it. I bet you could do a good job at left wing back like Saka is, because that's the raw talent that he is. And in regards to left back, I mean, I'd put actually Kolasinac in left back if he's fit, and put Saka at left wing. He's got a lot of confidence right now. He's been playing well. Let's see him in his natural position now, and put Martinelli up front. Give Lacazette a break, and have Pepe obviously up front, and Ceballos come in for Ozil, because Ozil hasn't done it for me. I know he's running much more. I mean, he's being more aggressive. Things that he should have been doing a long, long time ago. But you know what? We give him his props. He's working hard for the team, but still not delivering. And if he's not delivering, I'm sorry. Bring Ceballos. We have 5 months left with him. We're paying him. We might as well use him. And I think he could do a great job for us.
Yeah, I mean, just want to pick up a few things there, and this leads me on to my next question. But before I get the question, let's have a score prediction for tomorrow night against Chelsea. What are we going for? I'm going for a 1-1 draw, because I'm boring, and that's all this team seems to be able to do. And we can't score more than 1 goal, and we don't have Aubameyang. So that's the best I can do tonight, guys. It's a 1-1 from me. What are you saying, Ebony? What are you saying about tomorrow's game?
I'm taking into consideration that we seem to play better against the top 6 than we do against the lower half of the table. And that's no disrespect to the lower half of the table. In an ideal world, I'd like it to be 2-1, but I can see it being a draw, 1-1, 2-2. I think, without sounding detrimental, our defense for some reason tends to give up in the last few minutes. I don't know, and maybe again that's down to lethargy. I don't know. And if Arsenal don't tighten up at the back, then it will. Ideally, I prefer it to be a draw than a loss.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to be optimistic. I'm going to go for a 2-1, but really and truly, it'll probably be a 1-1 or a 2-2 draw.
Because Chelsea have won 6 of their last 7. And
they lost against Newcastle.
That was a bad one. That they lost against. But they've let in 10 goals at Stamford Bridge.
Yeah,
and 10 goals, man.
And they've lost against teams that they shouldn't. Well, they shouldn't have.
But they've lost 8 times. They've lost 8 times there this season. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. And I don't know what Chelsea fans are saying about Lampard right now, but nonetheless, I just think that we need to start winning. And as I said before, if we can recreate that Man United performance.
Oh yes. Or even the first half against Chelsea, because Chelsea wouldn't have beaten us if Leno didn't make a mistake. Let's make that clear. If Leno didn't make a mistake, at worst we would have drawn that game, but we wouldn't have definitely lost it. African Guna, what's your prediction for tomorrow night? We lost them again, I believe so. Jase is going for 2-1 to Arsenal tomorrow, so that's a decent prediction. But on the game, obviously, what we're expecting is Saka is expecting to fill in at left back. Bellerin's in contention as well, but I think they might play it safe and go with Niles again. Yeah. From what I know, he's been back in training since last Monday, so he's along with Sabalas. Sabalas has been back in training for the last 2 weeks. Yeah,
we need to see him back again, because I mean, whenever he's come on, he's actually played quite well, and he's almost scored. So. It would be good to, have him back on again. But I'm just thinking that, against Chelsea, the only thing that really worries me more than anything is the defense. and that worries me.
I'm not
every
worried.
single game.
I'm not worried about the defense because we have played solid. In the last 3 or 4 games, we've played solid. We had that deflected goal against Palace, and if that didn't go in, we would have had 3 clean sheets on the row. I also think that the Sheffield United goal was slightly deflected. I haven't even seen a replay, and I didn't watch match of the day either. But to me, that looked slightly deflected. Every time I hear the goal, it looks like it came off Niles's feet or something. But he hits it down on the ground, it bobbles up, it hits something, and then it just flies over Leno ridiculously. I think we've done well defensively, and we've been unfortunate for the last few goals.
We've been okay. We haven't been brilliant, but we've been better than we have been under Emery. But the only reason why the defense worries me regarding tomorrow's game is because I know how quick Chelsea players can be.
Oh yes, yeah.
So that's my only worry. But if we can defend from the halfway line like we did against Man United, then I think we'd be okay.
Yeah. Lafkin Guna, Aaron is saying he agrees with you. Eddie and Nelson are still hesitant with the ball on the big screen and crowds. But what's your thoughts? Have we lost African Guna again? Have we lost you again, bro? Okay, well, Aaron is saying Martinelli is solid, going to be a superstar. He'll be internationally this year?
Intentionally this year.
Yeah. I think I want to also shout out to Corey McLeod. Corey McLeod, Big Up 101 in the forums today, talked about on this day in 2006, Wenger bought Theo Walcott. Big shout out to Theo, big fan of his. He was a Centurion, over 100 goals for his club, something that only 21 other players in the history of Arsenal Football Club have done. And look, my question to the forum was, which out of our current crop are going to potentially be Centurions? Theo scored 100 goals for us. The last British person who did that was Ian Wright. Who's potentially going to do that for us at this club at the moment? And when I asked that question, there wasn't a lot of... the thing about Aubameyang is when I talked about Aubameyang, look, let's run down the current club, and you guys let me know what you think on the live stream as well. Aubameyang is 30 years old. He's got 57 goals for the club.
That's good.
It is good. And the chances are, with if he scores 20 plus goals over the next 2 seasons, that's not if he leaves in the summer, which is definitely a potential if we don't go anywhere, because this guy has to play in the Champions League.
Of course.
I don't think he's going to hang around long enough to score 100 goals, but he definitely is one of them. Lacazette, he's 28 years old. He scored 42 goals for the club. So that's not bad. But right now, that guy can't hit water if he fell out of a boat. So I don't know. I don't know where he's going at the moment. Martinelli. No, we'll talk about Ozil. Ozil's 31. He scored 41 goals. Everything with Ozil is kind of dried up at the moment. Assists, goals. So I'd say a big no for that. Martinelli, he's 18 years old and has 9 goals.
Well, he's got potential. He's got potential. I mean, I can understand any manager, and in particular Arteta, not starting Martinelli because they don't want him. He doesn't want him burnt out, which I get, which is fine. Yeah. But we need him right now because we're desperate. We're what, 10th?
Yeah, no, we're desperate for goals, man.
We're desperate. So if it means playing him every single game until the end of the season, provided that he doesn't feel burnt out, then that's got to be. If not, then Ceballos, if he's not injured, hopefully he'll stay beyond this loan period. If not, okay, cool. But I just think that I'm just looking at our team right now, and I'm thinking, all right, where are the goals coming from? And if we get injuries, where are the goals coming in the forward line? Yeah. Where are we going to get the goals from?
I mean, look, everything tomorrow night leads to the road to disaster. And look, our forwards, our top goal scorer is banned, and nobody's stepping up outside of Martinelli. Pepe's definitely showing some sparks. He played well against Palace, should have had a winner. Goalkeeper made a great save in the closing minutes of the game. Pepe provided a great cross, which could have been an assist for Martinelli's chance against Sheffield when he put it just wide and the ball went across the road. So look, Pepe is, in my opinion, our most dangerous player at the moment. Even if he's not scoring or assisting, he's creating. His free kicks and corners are out of this world. So I think that Pepe is still our most dangerous player. But at the moment, we're struggling up front. We're struggling at the defense because while we do have two, we can kit up. And Socrates is back tomorrow after being ill. What happens if something goes bad there? We're on a tight string at the moment, and boy, we're going into the Lions Den tomorrow.
But that's been an issue for years at Arsenal. Our defense hasn't been great since 2006,
2015. I got the number. Yeah, 2015. We had the best defense in that calendar year. 20 goals. The team behind us had 26, and that was Man United. And that's when we had a proper spine. We had Mertesacker, Koscielny, a centre back, and we had Coughlin. Yeah, who was the darkest dark horse in Arsenal's team. When he played, we knocked heads, and they sold him off for 10 million and a bag of chips, and replaced him with Xhaka. Dead.
Yeah, don't even. I mean, we could have got Kante for that, but you know.
But
the reason why I say 2006 is because that was the last. Well, for me anyway, that was the last year where we had a great defense.
Yeah, that was Gallas and all that. That was when they went to the League Cup final against Chelsea, the kids.
And also the Champions League final as well, where we had like a pretty good defense. We had the Souls and the who else do we have in defense?
Oh, you're going back now, man. 2003, 2004.
But 2006, I say 2006 it was like the last year of like the decent defenders, and then from there on in, you know, every player. Every defender was replaced by an idiot. Sorry, but I shouldn't really say idiot. I what I should say is every good defender that we've ever had under Wenger was replaced by a dud. So, but you know, when it comes to our defense, it's been awful for years.
Yeah, I got to go with Kez. Kez is saying, I also feel defensively we have been good. We are dismayed with Unai, and the way we have played and not winning has clouded judgment, but we have improved. We've definitely improved defensively. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, we've improved, but it could be better.
Of course. And it could be better because in the last 10 minutes of the game, we're mentally switching off.
Yeah, and that's because of the new regime, which they're still getting used to. Even, you know, David Luiz and Socrates said, you know, at the end of the Man U game, you know, we're tired, and I applauded their honesty. But yes, we have defensively gotten better, but you know, there's still improvements to be made. And in order for those improvements to be made, we need centre backs that can actually defend. We need a defensive midfielder that can actually protect the back four.
Yeah.
Because although Xhaka has actually been playing well, you know, he's still, as African Guna said, he's still got a mistake in him.
So I want to hear from them guys in the chat at the moment with the question, who do they think is going to be the next Centurion outside of Theo Walcott? We talked about Martinelli, 18 years old, 9 goals. Pepe's 24 years old, has 5 goals. Nketiah's 20 years old, has 3 goals. And Saka is 18 years old, just turned 18 years old, has 2 goals. So, guys, in the chat, in the comments, who do you feel is going to be the next Centurion? Ebony, you said you think it's going to be Martinelli, yeah?
He has the potential, but then the way we're looking right now, who is going to stay long enough? I think somebody said, Jalse.
Yeah.
I think all but if he stays,
Yeah.
who potentially is going to stay long enough to actually hit 100.
And that's why the question is so hard because Theo was here for 10 years. He came in, at a young age and left when he was 27, and scored 108 goals for the club. Who do we think is going to match that? And I have to agree with you. I think Martinelli is the closest that we can see. Pepe's got a chance, but that really depends on his goal return. Walcott had seasons where he scored 21 goals and had 14 assists, and that was in 2013. And 2017, he had 19 goals in that season. Outside of that, he was scoring in regular double figures. So Walcott, regardless what people think about him and his potential, and may I repeat, only 1% of the players in this game achieve their potential. If you register the amount of goals in the last 5 years, Walcott had 68 goals. The Ox, Chamberlain, had 7. Yeah, it's not even measurable what Walcott did and what he achieved. But a lot of Arsenal fans love to moan about scapegoats. They did it with Ozil, they did it with Walcott. And, when you look at these players, they were providing production for the club. And when blame should have gone elsewhere, and Theo had a horrible first touch. We all know that. But when it came to running behind the defense, making those runs which Thierry Henry taught him, getting behind the defense and getting into a 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper, we didn't have anybody better than that. This was a winger. Yeah, he's got more goals than Lundberg, Van Persie, Perez. He's got not Van Persie, Perez. I meant, yeah, he's got more goals than those wingers. But the question is, who is going to be able to do that now? Who do we see at the club that is going to be a centurion?
If Martinelli stays long enough, he's got the potential. Aubameyang, well, we'll see what happens there.
Yeah.
Maybe Pepe, maybe even Saka. He's playing left back as opposed to Xhaka. But yeah,
I think we probably settle on Martinelli being the best.
But then if we keep Ceballos, which we probably won't, he'll probably go back to Barcelona at the end of the season.
Real Madrid.
Maybe him.
Real Madrid
even, sorry. Then maybe even him. But we all know he's going to go back to Spain at the end of the season.
And that's a problem for them because he's got 1 year left on his contract. He hasn't. He can produce. The injury hasn't helped. It's in the same way how we have looked at Smith Rowe. We know Smith Rowe can be a great player, but he just hasn't. He just hasn't been fit enough to produce. Smith Rowe was supposed to be the new Ramsey this year. Where him there? Our worst fears of him being another Jack Wilshere is coming through. Man is on the medical chair every week.
Yeah, injury prone.
Yeah. And again, Giles has just pointed out with Theo, Walcott also suffered quite a few injuries.
He did.
I know Nabil, big shout out to you, Nabil, supposed to be on the stream tonight. Nabil was saying Walcott would have been a great striker for Arsenal, and I sent him that Daily Mail tag where Walcott was starting as a striker for Arsenal. He had 11 goals in 11 games, and the game he got injured was probably his best game. We beat Tottenham 2-0 at home, and Theo went off. Remember, he did he did that, yeah, and he was off on a stretcher, and again he missed another 4 months. But that was Theo's best game as a striker. He was running into the lanes, holding the ball up. He was in that stretch, 11 goals in 11 games. Nobody could argue with it. But for me, he just didn't get enough chances as a striker up front. Even with Everton, Everton's not really giving him that much chances because they're loaded with front players. They got, they got so many wingers and front players. It's crazy. Yeah. Calvin Lewis. They've got so many players. So in regards to that, I think we can settle on Martinelli is probably going to be the next player, and it's a hard one to call because it's not even.
If you look at today's game, it's all about wanting to win trophies, and yes, it's a short career, unless your name's Ronaldo. or Ryan Giggs when he played until he was 40. But it's a relatively short career, and people want those accolades. They want those huge accolades now or as soon as possible. So, and when you look at Arsenal and you've seen the players that have gone, it's because they've gone to teams where they've actually won something. And that big prize that they want to win is the Champions League.
Yeah.
And if Orba left, you can understand that. You can understand why. But it's all about. But it really hinges. Our next Centurion really hinges on who is willing to extend their contract beyond their current contracts and stick with the club and believe in the club. Because to be a great team, great play, what we consider as great players need to stick together and stay with the team.
I totally agree. And your point is hit home by the fact that I'm talking about 17, 18-year-old players at that level of where they were. And I'm thinking Anelka, he didn't stay with the club. Fabregas, brilliant. Didn't stay with the club. So it's even harder when you talk about the skill, the goal returns, and realistically sticking around, being a part of the club. Even Thierry Henry left. That's how hard it is to, even though he was a Centurion anyway, he already done his business at Arsenal. But the fact of the matter is, in this day and age right now, in our setup, who do you see scoring 100 goals? It's a tough one, man. It's a really tough one because the loyalty is not there. I can't remember off the top of my head how many goals Adebayor scored, but again, he was gone. He saw the money.
He went to Tottenham and then he went to Man City, and it was all about that money for me. So and he didn't actually win any great accolades anyway. So
and with Aaron is saying Martinelli will go to Spain like all the Brazilians. He may well do, and it really depends on what the player wants and how much the club value them. And look, we couldn't keep Sanchez at the club. We couldn't keep Henry at the club. We couldn't keep Fabregas at the club. We couldn't keep Van Persie at the club. And it's hard. So it's a very tough question there for us to cover, really. Jose saying, I think that's where we're lacking in coaching. These players aren't taught in the simple things that make you a top player. That's the beauty of having Arteta. That's the beauty of him bringing in the styles and the training that he's seen at Man City. He's Spanish. He sees it in the national team as well. Arteta knows what good looks like, as I've said in my previous videos, and that's what he's bringing into Arsenal. But it will take time. It really will take time. It's really with us sitting back, watching this whole thing develop and watching this whole thing grow, especially with the young players. And I think that Per Mertesacker and Freddie Lundberg also has a big part to play because they're the ones that are going to bring him through the John Jules of this world. The Roy Burtons, who's the under-21 captain. It's really up to them to groom the next level of Arsenal players that are going to be coming through. So so I'll leave that right there and move on to transfers. And really, this is just a non-starter, Ebony. They're getting desperate. We've heard now the Kazama is probably, I'm not going to say it's not going to happen because his contract runs out and we are free to negotiate a deal, which I know we are doing at the moment now. We are negotiating a deal, but to get him to come here now, PSG are open to it, but they want 7 million euros. And Arsenal are not.
Is that all?
Yeah, that's all. Arsenal are not going to pay it though. And that's because...
Come on, Arsenal.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to pay it because he's a left back. And the situation is Kieran Tierney's back in a couple of weeks. Saka's filling in there. It's not a desperate need for them at the moment, like other positions are. So I don't think that they're going to pay 7 million euros to get a player who they can get in the summer for free. It's not urgent. So I just think that's a non-starter.
Okay, Upamecano, all right. I mean, he's good. He's in the Italian league. The Italian league, as we know, is different in the sense that it's slower, but it's all well and good saying Upamecano and all these really fantastic players in European leagues, but can they hack it in the Premiership? And we all know what Arsenal fans are like. If they don't hit the ground running, Arsenal fans will start cursing their blue. Okay, and taking into consideration that we are desperate, don't care what anyone says, we are desperate right now for reinforcements. If Upamecano doesn't produce what he has done in Italy, with Arsenal fans forgetting how much slower the Italian league is, then Arsenal fans will start cursing. And it's like, well, why can't we, if we're a big club, which Arsenal is, why can't we dig into the Premier League and get a Premiership proven player that is so used to the league?
It's just a tough one, because this one would definitely be about money. I mean, 50 million is what we know they were asking for before the transfer market started at Christmas. The word is now is Arsenal are desperate, and they know Arsenal's got money. And honestly, I think if that deal's going to happen, it's probably going to happen for slightly more than 50 million. It's a real tough one to call, and this would be down to desperation as well. It's a move that can happen. The door's not closed on it, and they have been talking to the club. But I think in order for something like this to happen, there has to be outgoings, and that's just us being sensible. They have to be able to sell to generate some kind of cash, and so that makes this deal very hard. I'd be surprised. They surprised me before they bought Pepe. So I'm not saying it's out of the question that they get this deal done. If there's one thing that we know, is there's been questions asked of the board and the front office, and the board and the front office definitely have been providing the team with options. We brought 21 players in this team in the last 18 months since Emery took over. That's a lot of players.
Yeah.
And regardless of the value of each player, the fact is that the front office has been working hard to get these deals done. So, look, I see a lot of people in the forums throwing blame at them. I know me and Randall was having a conversation with Randy in the forum, and we were talking about, look, we need to give this time. We need to understand that these things don't happen overnight. There's three parties: the team who wants to sell, the player, the agent, and the team who are selling. And it's just not, you can't guarantee that any deal is going to go through. Is a big factor, let alone January being the worst month for transfers. I think they should just get rid of this January transfer.
I think so as well.
It's just a waste of time.
It is a waste of time, and I made a mistake. It's the Bundesliga that Upamecano is in, not the Italian league. And again, the German league is that bit slower than the Premiership. I think the January transfer window, and I've been saying that to myself for quite a long time, is a waste of time.
Yeah.
What team or what manager or what club or what owner of any club is going to want to get rid of one of their best players in the middle of a season? Doesn't make any sense. Just have one window in the summer. That is it. Okay. Unless teams are desperate, and most teams are not desperate, and even if those players were to be sold, they'd actually wait until their season is over to get the best of the best of that player, to get the best out of that player before they go. So it's like January. It's just for me. It's just a waste of time. No team is going to upset their apple cart in the middle of a season.
Yeah,
even if it means getting £50 million, it's just going to happen.
Yeah,
how many years? I mean, we can turn around and say that other teams haven't done any business, which is fact. But with us, it's like we never. I'm not going to say we never get any players in January, which is a lie, because we got Aubameyang in January. We got Lacazette in January as well.
Yeah, so, we got what's his name, Mkhitaryan in January as well.
Yeah, and the biggest theorem was a waste of time anyway.
And if we go back further, we got Adebayor and Asharvin. We got them in January.
Yeah, and look what happened, and look what happened to those two. So I just think that the January transfer window is, unless teams are that desperate to get rid of a player like we are desperate to get rid of Mustafi, it's not going to happen. And the best time to buy players, as far as I'm concerned, is in the summer.
Yeah, of course. So Jase is saying either you're good or you're not. Why do you think English players are rated so highly? I don't think they're rated highly. I think that the money is inflated, and I think that it's because there's such a scarce a pool of talent in England. That plays a part in it. Also, what plays a part in it is the fact that the Premier League deal is giving teams so much money. So they know how much they can get for these players, because all the other teams that are around them competing have got millions and tens and millions of pounds. So if you're going to give up one of your young talents, you can make a mint on it. And I think that is, where Wenger went with Rob Holding was the right thing to do. Go into the Championship, which is a lot faster paced, by the way. Yeah, the Championship is not an easy league. We've seen the likes of these teams: Brighton, Sheffield United, Norwich. We've seen these teams come up and really go toe to toe with Premiership teams. The game against Leeds, that also showed us where these guys are. And Rob Holding, seriously, he's better than John Stones. Yeah, and John Stones was 50 million. Rob Holding was 2 million. So work that one out for yourself. It's really just about using other teams as ransom. That's what it is. It's really not about the money. And that's where other teams have kind of caught on. Some have, in the Italian league, in the Bundesliga, but in the French league, they haven't really caught on to it yet. So we can still buy players at a decent price. Yeah. Yes, we paid a lot for Pepe, but could you imagine if Pepe was going to Barcelona or Real Madrid? They probably would have paid a little bit more. Yeah. Look how much money Mbappe went for. Yeah. And he went to PSG. So it's really down to what's going on. Big shout out to Vincey in the chat, man. Yeah. Big shout out to you, my friend. You've been really quiet on the forums of late. But it's nice to see you to join us, man. Nice to see you to join us. So that's really it where it is on the transfers, guys. There's not much going on. And my advice to you guys would be this. Don't look for any deals to be done, and be open to be surprised. Because right now teams are going to have to go over and above in order to get these deals done this month. Teams are just not letting go of their players, and that's just the reality of it. And if you are,
and why would they?
Yeah. And why would they? Other teams are out there are competing as well. So giving up a good, talented player, well, you're going to want something back in return, and not everybody's got that. Yeah, remember, this Sanchez and Mkhitaryan deal was a swap. That's all it was.
Yeah.
It was a swap. And with the fact that 2 contracts had to be signed and renewed, both teams got what they wanted, and both teams also never benefited from them deals. Mkhitaryan is on loan and away from Arsenal, and Sanchez is on loan and away from Man United. So think of it what you will. Yeah, it didn't work out for anybody as far as that deal went. So realistically, guys, be open to be surprised if anything happens. But for now, I wouldn't expect a deal to go through. So let's move on to one of our last subjects. This is our last subject of the evening, and it's Lacazette leaving for Atletico. What's your thoughts about this? Do you think, obviously they have inquired about him, but again, nothing will happen if the player's not interested, and nothing will happen if the team Arsenal don't want to sell, and I don't think they want to sell him. Knowing they can lose Aubameyang in the summer, selling Lacazette now would be horrific.
It will be a nail in the coffin, so to speak. Whether he wants to go or not, because we know that Lacazette has it. We know he's a great player. He's just not firing on any cylinder right now, but he will get back. And that's what I always say, you know, every player has an off season. Every striker has an off season. Every striker misses chances. That's the way the cookie crumbles. I tend not to believe anything I hear that's printed in any newspaper or any internet site, whether it's Sky, until I see the evidence. Until I see it on Arsenal.com, I'm not believing anything.
Yeah, I mean, but I can tell you from the agents I've talked to, there has been conversations, but there's nothing serious at the moment. Apparently, their actual first target is Edison Cavani. That's who they really want. Aubameyang's not their first choice by any word of the sense. He's not their first choice. Vincey is saying Laka can go if we have a younger replacement to play with in terms of Martinelli. It's all about the price we sell for our strikers. And we talked about this last week, Ebony. We said we don't mind getting rid of some players in order to reestablish a good player in another position. So if you said to me, Apollo, would you sell Lacazette to facilitate the Pancano deal? I would take it all day long. One, because there's a greater need defensively. Two, because Pancano is a younger player, so we've got more of a future with him. Three, because we have potential players we can play up front. You know, we talked about Eddie Nketiah, Martinelli, etc. We have options up front. So I would pull the trigger on that deal. Yeah, I would definitely pull the trigger.
I mean, if we were to sell Lacazette, which I wouldn't like to see, because I know he has it in him. But if we were to sell Lacazette, then fair enough. Yes, we've got fire up front. And those players can only get better and better with the training. But, you know, I mean, Lacazette, I mean, he was meant to go there anyway in the first place. It's only because they had a transfer ban. That's why we're lucky to get him anyway.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
And now they want him. But, you know, I mean, I'd like to hear what is in Lacazette's brain right now. I'd like to know what he thinks. I'd like to know, does he have ambitions to go to Spain? Does he want to play for Atletico Madrid?
Yeah.
Yes, he was supposed to go there in the beginning. You know, I'd like to hear what the player has to say. It's all well and good hearing about, you know, what agents have to say and all of that. And agents are out there to, you know, to make a living as well. Okay, fine. However, I'd like to know what the player has to say. And if there's noises made about, oh yeah, well, you know, I really want to, let him go. If that's what he wants, let him go. If that's what's in his mind, let him go. Because I don't feel the need to play players or keep players that don't want to stay at Arsenal. Because Arsenal isn't about one player. The club is bigger than the player. So if that's what he wants, let him go.
Yeah, and again, Giles is saying Lacazette, another one of him at Lyon in Dembele, but I think a lot is wrong in the midfield. Not dynamic or mobile enough, plus not creative. Lacazette's never been known for his pace. He's never been known for his aerial prowess. He's never been known for his positioning. He's just always been a deadeye and a fox in the box. And what he's turned into now is that type of holding player, the anchor man. And he's developed his game greatly in that respect, but his goals have just gone missing. And he's not even in the, like, you know, we talked about at Everton, he was poor in his finishing. He put 3 or 4 shots over the bar or wide of the post. I mean, he wasn't even looking close. Ozil put the ball on a plate for him twice. Ozil should have had 2 assists in that game. And Lacazette just bumbled his lines. So look, I think he's short on confidence because in the last few games, we haven't even seen him even run into the box. You know, we haven't seen him make the effort in movement to get into the box and score. Lacazette just doesn't look like he's interested in doing that at the moment. So that stinks of confidence. Yeah, that's where that problem is.
But is it confidence or is it a case of
I think
don't want to be here anymore type of
I think
emotion?
I think he enjoys playing here. I think he loves playing with Aubameyang, and that's important. But I just don't. You measure these kind of the things with a striker when you do see them run into the box, and I talked about Eddie Nketiah going wide left and putting that ball into the box. Nobody's there. Pepe put two balls into the box on the right. Nobody got on the end of those. Lacazette is your anchor man. He should be running into the box. He should be anticipating that those crosses are coming. He's not doing that. And that is a real lack of confidence as far as he's concerned. No striker should be not running into the ball, trying to make an effort to score. And that's where Lacazette's really letting me down at the moment. As much as I love his work rate, I have to judge him on his goals.
Yeah.
So, I'm going with Vincey at the moment, saying I want our strikers to play together for the next 5 years minimum. And yeah, so Vincey, you're talking about again Martinelli, Sacco, Reece Nelson, Pepe. You're talking about that kind of lineup, which is young, enthusiastic. Smith Rowe you can put in there as well. It's working for Chelsea. It's working for them. So I don't think there's any negative to it. But at the same time, Arteta has got to coach these players. I really do believe Arteta's going to turn Pepe into a stud. I really do. If he's not a stud already, I do believe he's going to polish him. And Pepe's not the finished article. I think we all know that.
No, he's not. He's not. I mean, he's still got to get used to the Premier League. And yes, he's played well, but he's got to do that week in, week out. What he does, and I'm impressed with him so far. And I've taken into consideration that in some of the games where he's played and lost, a lot of Arsenal fans are looking at him saying, "Oh, 72 million pounds, what a waste of money." And I'm like, look, give the boy a chance to embed himself into a league he's not used to yet.
Yeah. And I think with Jose as well saying, what I don't understand is look how much less he comes to try to collect the ball. Is Arteta asking him to do that? The one thing Arteta's asking Pepe to do is to play the ball quickly, because when Pepe gets the ball, he stops and he stands in front of the defender and then he starts to wiggle his body and do some footwork. And what that's doing is it's actually...
He needs to cut that out.
He needs to cut that out because with the ball standing in one position for that long, the defense is allowed to go in and reset itself. It's allowed to see where Arsenal players are running. Because remember, when Pepe gets the ball, everyone's running into the box. So when you're making runs with your movement, Pepe's got to he's got to release that ball. He's got to play it as fast as he can. And Pepe's not doing that. So what it's doing is it's just slowing up the whole final third. So that's not helping. The time where I talked about Pepe should knock it down the line and outrun his player. He'd done that once. And that was when he played the ball into Martinelli, and Martinelli missed the chance and shot it across the face of the goal. He can do that. It's just coaching. Yeah, Pepe's got all the skills in the world. What he doesn't have is the smart knowledge of how to play in this system. Yeah, forget the league, because he's playing in a system which he's trying to excel in. And once he understands how it all works and how the flow of the game and the passing, once he understands how that works, he'll be a much better player for it. We can see why he was chosen ahead of Nelson. And that was because Nelson, when they were talking about winning the ball back, playing the rondo and all that stuff, defending high up the pitch as a team, Pepe wasn't doing that. Now he is. So he's got that part of it down right. The next part is for Pepe to develop, and it might take this isn't going to be weeks or months. It might take a bit of time. It took Raheem Sterling a whole season to get it right. And once he got that clicking, Sterling was just dominant in the final third. But for Pepe, it's just going to take him time. It's just going to take him time. Aaron is back on saying Martinelli is going to smash it with Brazil on a world stage, and we're cashing in. Yes, I agree with you. I think the next World Cup, Martinelli is going to be huge. No need for us to cash in, bro, because those commercial deals that we've got are bringing us a hell of a lot of money in, and the Premiership deals bringing us a hell of a lot of money, and we don't need to sell players. It's not like the old days where we had to try and balance the book and the loan. All of that's taken care of now. And the new Puma deal, commercial deal, and the Adidas deal is really looking after the club in a big way, and they're going to be able to do a lot more with that money moving forwards. But for us, it's really just about how much money can we generate with players as well, and then we're going to be able to spend all of those funds that we have in regards to surplus cash. Jesse is saying, because whenever Ozil collects the ball, I was talking about Ozil, Laka drops to collect as well. Is that the instructions? Yes, because he's trying to play with multiple players running into the box and multiple players playing at the top of the line as well, interlinking play, which will create space. He's trying to do what Manchester City does. The difference is they've had the Kevin De Bruynes and the Agueros of this world, and we don't have them. That's the best way for me to try and explain that. We just don't have the same type of quality of players as they do, and it's a work in progress. And the one thing I want to say about that is, when you look at Arsenal and Chelsea, along with Norwich, they have given more Premier League minutes to players under 21 in this league than any other teams. That's Norwich, Chelsea, and Arsenal have played more players under the age of 21, and that just shows a stage of transition that we're in with our team.
And that's the reason why, and that's why, if players are to get more experience and more minutes, but more first team experience, they need to be thrown into the lines, then, so to speak. If Chelsea can do it, if Norwich can do it, and they're successful, I don't see why we can't do it. And we're a big club. We need to start utilizing some of these younger players as well, because it's the only way they're going to get experience in the first team. I mean, it's all well and good sending them out on loan to get first team experience, but if you want them to play for your team and you want them to do well for your team and you want them to have experience in your team, you have to let them out. You have to unleash them.
Okay, guys. All right. So listen, so that's it for the stream this week. Guys, I appreciate the support, and well done to you guys in the chat room and the forums. Thanks for joining us along tonight with this journey, and thanks again to Ebony Kingston. Big up to you, girl. Where can we find you?
I'm on Facebook, Ebony Kingston, and Twitter, Ebony Kingston again.
Excellent, guys. And listen, thanks for supporting the channel. Like and subscribe to 101 on Arsenal. Much love. And listen, let's hope that we can get these 3 points. Let's hope that we can get a result there, because they have let some goals in.
Yes.
But yeah, listen, appreciate the love, guys, and take care, man. And listen, 3 words, guys: back your team. Peace out, man.
Bye.